You're very welcome to the Sugar Club and to Make Me an Island. Even though it's December 13th, we're making like it's January 6th. So I couldn't think of a better guest for Nollaig the Man. So Nollaig the Man Honna Duit Branwen, and very welcome to Make Me an Island.
Thanks very much.
It's brilliant to have you here. We're going to talk about some music by people other than yourself, but thankfully you're also going to play some songs live that I'm delighted to say. So the first one, Branwen?
So this one is called Cedar Tree, and this is my unapologetic trucker song. So
don't apologize. Never.
I was a man who was inclined to leave the beaten path behind, but you were always on my mind. I was a fool and love was blind, and someday you'll leave me, and time will pass by, and there'll be no grieving or lasting goodbyes. When I was younger, I was wild. All past I'll never reconcile. I guess I loved you all the while. I chose to walk a sorry mile, and someday you'll wake up and I will be gone. It might come too late, but I have done you wrong. I sat under a cedar tree. I dreamed you were dreaming of me. Gray birds flew out over the sea. I dreamt I held you in my sleep, and someday you'll leave me, and time will pass by, and there'll be no grieving or lasting goodbyes.
Wonderful. Come on over, Branwen. I don't know if you ever watched The Late Late Show, but you know the musical guest that would play a song and then they'd get invited to come over and sit on the couch, the really important ones?
Thank you.
Branwen, the album from which that's taken, you released last year, right?
I did, yeah.
And it's called?
Hunted and Haunted.
And so it's on Bandcamp, everybody. I'd urge you to go, even right at the beginning, but you'll be even more inclined after at the end. We're going to get to talk a little bit about that, right? But just to ease us into proceedings, I asked you to pick some musical choices, and there's some amazing stuff on the way. Now, the one that stood out as being very different is the opening one, and it's one that I fully approve of, highly approve of. Is Kristen Hirsch with Throwing Muses. So tell us about what you feel about this one.
Well, when me and my, I have a twin sister, when we were teenagers, our uncle used to get us CDs every birthday and Christmas, and it was always women playing play music. So we just never kind of doubted that women could play music, which is great. And yeah, like we met Kristen Hirsch when we were kids, and she's lovely, and she was playing a show in a bookshop.
Okay, wow.
In Dublin here.
What period? When was that? I wonder, because I interviewed her around
maybe
1994.
Yeah, I don't think we were. I think we were about 7 or 8, so we would have been 3 at that stage. But
Okay. I should say that your twin, Julie, you've twin-headed wolf is you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon. So you were fed this music, and was that deliberate on your uncle's part to do
Oh,
that?
totally. Yeah, he used to do loads of weird experiments on us. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems like a good, seems like a very good thing to have done, right? To give you that
Totally.
feeling of the possible and.
Yeah, and this particular album had a big impact. It's just so alive, and it's so beautiful, and just full of bizarre like timing changes, and like they're just such a weird, interesting band. And she was like 14 like when she started that band, and it kind of led me to like reading her book.
So the book looks really interesting. I didn't know about it till you said it this week. So paradoxical understanding, right? Undressing.
Yeah.
Wow, there's a bit of difference there.
Yeah, it's a phenomenon that happens when people suffer from hypothermia, that they start getting, when they're so cold, they believe their body starts burning, so they take off all their clothes before. It's really bizarre.
Wow.
But yeah, it was it's kind of based around like 1 year of her life when she was 18, and she was like just hanging out on Long Island, and I think she got hit by a car, and then when she's on her bicycle, and then sort of noises started coming to her that kind of meant that they would just kind of like plague her until she could make a song out of them, and they wouldn't go away at all until she's made a song.
Does the book go into great detail about, or it's about more things than that, but that in itself is a book's worth of
really
I mean, it's so interesting. So the concussion created something that when it came to the formation of songs, they kind of started off as noises that she couldn't get rid of.
She had to pick the melodies or the kind of words out of the noise, and then you can kind of feel it in the songs because they're so chaotic nearly, but it's really interesting. And then I guess she was like hanging out in like a squat called the Doghouse as well, and then I ended up actually living in a squat called the Doghouse on Metro Square, which is funny, which retrospectively it was called the Doghouse, which is funny. It just kind of like led me to like loads of strange things. And then I just love the imagery as well. Like she's got like this particular song is about an image in the squat where they had like a fish nailed to a crucifix. It was really bizarre. I just love all these like really bizarre images, and I just love her personality because she's just like she's interested in making art. Like I think one of her quotes is that fame is for dorks. I think I just love that because it's just about making something beautiful and not worrying about what the world thinks about it. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I find that really inspiring.
For sure. Let's hear it and maybe chat some more about the amazing Tanya Donnelly.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Kristen
Sorry,
Hirsch. That's
Kristen
your stepsister.
Yeah. So this is Tanya and Kristen Hirsch together. the quote that the sounds would alter their sonic vocabulary until I was hearing syllables and drums. I love the way that might have come together. Those wonderful images that they paint there.
Yeah.
I mean, they have quite a significant place in that they were hugely influential beyond their kind of whatever it was that they did in the marketplace. You got to see them, Branwen, right?
Yeah, a few years ago they were playing in the Academy. It was a real kind of like, I don't know, like initiation moment of like loving them for so long and then getting to see them live was great. Yeah, and she still had as much energy. It was brilliant. Yeah, it was great.
And you would say, you know, from what you said earlier, that they were pretty key in terms of enabling you to, or would you say they were in terms of early on influence of
I think
taking up your own?
I think that I think more than anything else, they just give permission. I think that's the biggest thing is like, and I think that's the biggest thing you can give any creator is like, oh, you know what, we're going to go boldly out into this unseen, uncharted territory and just totally be ourselves. And I think that really sort of enabled me and Julie to feel like, there's just permission to do whatever you want to do. And the more that you give yourself permission, the more you give other people permission, and the more interesting kind of boundaries get pushed. And I think I think that's the thing.
So the evolution of your own making music with Julie, so how early on was it that you started to do that?
Well, we used to be in our own bands, like from the age of, I started writing songs when I was 14, but we started our own bands. Like a guy called Paddy Mulcahy down in Clare had like a project for all the teenagers to kind of come and play music and stuff.
And playing traditional tunes?
No, this was, I suppose like we grew up in Clare, so there was always trad everywhere anyway. But no, this is more for like the sort of gothy sort of outsiders to go and play music. And, totally. And then we had our own kind of bands. Like I did my own stuff and so did she. And then we were at a party one time, I think we were like 19 or 20, and just the name Twin-Headed Wolf came to us, and we said, if we ever have a band, we should call it Twin-Headed Wolf. And then we're like, why don't we have a band? And then we just did it. And then
it's funny how the name came first. Yeah. Well, it was a great name.
Yeah.
So then, just in terms of your own practice, and you also studied sculpture, right? Am I right?
I did, yeah.
So like, bringing sort of, you know, I mean, you brought so much to the table, literally, when it came to the Twin-Headed Wolf sound and performance. And I remember being so struck by all these different elements of, but so was that a gradual thing, or was that kind of, seeing as you kind of inhabited the name from day one, was it something that was there, or, you know, did it take a while for you to kind of
be more playful?
Yeah, to develop those aspects of it, adventurous parts of it.
I don't think so. I think we were all like, actually, do you know what I think? Like, being a twin is really helpful because it's way easier to just be your crazy self and just have that be completely supported. So no matter what we brought up with each other, we're like, yeah, totally. It's kind of like this, like, and I in second year started making like instruments out of like junk and bones and stuff like that. So it was quite related, I suppose, to what, we were kind of bringing all of ourselves into it from different aspects. And and then Julie was studying, she did like classics and philosophy, and she brought like ancient Greek music. And I suppose we were just always like a bit silly and experimental. So I don't think it was a gradual thing necessarily. It's more like, oh, we have more permission to bring more of ourselves into this picture, and it doesn't have to subscribe to like, we need a drum set and a bass and whatever. It's just like, let's just bring whatever we have. So
when it comes to the gathering and the making of instruments and that element of your work, right? I mean, there seems that you have a feeling for sound in so many different aspects and how it works and all of that. Would that be sort of like something that's also been there from you can remember growing up in Clare and being into that, or how did that develop? Or is that
an interesting question? I don't know, like I feel like there's sort of like an equal balance between everything. It sounds really pretentious to say, but it's like the whole world is actually musical. And like, do you know that I'd be as inspired as like the chugging of a bus engine as I would be from someone playing some gorgeous sonata on a violin. Do you know what I mean? So I don't feel like, I don't really judge certain sounds as being more musical than others necessarily. Do you know what I mean? So I think
that was exactly why I was interested, because it seems like that's very much you know, very quiet and a statement of, you know, what you're doing. It's like there's, it's all music.
Yeah. Why not?
Let's talk about some of the specific stuff. Branwen, so the second, we'll take another choice before you go back to play a song live. So we go to Norway this time.
Yeah.
And so you recorded your debut album you recorded the Twin-Headed Wolf album in Oslo, right? So you've got a Norwegian connection. So you're the person who's going to pronounce this name.
I just had a tutorial today. Terje Isungset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And anything about this music that
Yeah, this is so I remember when I was in second year, someone just left an article open on my desk and it was like, Ice Fest, a festival where people make instruments out of music. And I was like, okay, I'm going. And then myself and my friend went over, because my uncle and my mother live in Norway, so we went to Oslo and then got a train up to Geilo to see this happen. And it's this particular guy was first commissioned to play a frozen waterfall, and then he kind of invented the concept of ice music. And so then he kind of paired with sculptors and made like ice cellos and harps and horns and all kinds of. Then actually there's the first time I went, there was these Basque twins playing this instrument, which is like a big, huge xylophone, but it was made of ice, and it's called a zalaparta, and they kind of had this percussive conversation back and forth with it. It's so beautiful and interesting, and yeah, so it's the first full moon of every January. They hold it, in Geilo, which is like halfway between Oslo and Bergen, and. It's definitely, if you go there, you're like, there is actually nothing more magical happening on Earth right now.
Right, yeah, I was
and
just
also,
say, what could possibly be better?
I've been twice as well, but it's really interesting because when I was getting a CD, I was like, which one should I get? And they're like, oh, well, the ice froze really well this year because they take the ice from the lake. So depending on how the freeze goes, the instruments are going to sound nicer depending on how solid so it's really funny that they had that perspective on it.
So it's a good year, a bit like the wine. Yeah. Did you get to play on any of the instruments?
Oh my God, I would have loved to.
I take it.
No.
Oh no, you didn't know. Oh,
because they actually do. They go to like concert halls and they kind of pack them up in frozen trucks.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it goes around in a freezer, and the idea of like, you know, so instead of the roadie having to hump the gear, it just melts and you just move on.
I know, yeah, it's nice.
So let's hear it. Go on.
Yeah. He's collaborating with a singer called Lena Willemark from Sweden, who's also a trad Swedish player and jazz musician. So
yeah, beautiful. Thanks, Branwen. Ice everything from now on, Branwen. That's so beautiful. I love all the kind of the ambient sounds there. Would I be right in saying right up your street? As you take to your position to, what are you playing there, Branwen, now? We're going to hear a live song again. We're going to hear Kwa 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 next?
Kwa Kwa Kwa,
okay, yeah. I absolutely love this song.
Cool.
What are you going to be making the noises with?
So this is a jerry can from World War I, and I've got it in a market. I was on my way to my brother's communion, and I had the money for him in a card.
Oh, I like this story already.
This guy was just like, "You need these petrol cans," and I was just like, because he knows me, and he knows I'll just buy whatever junk he has lying around. So he's like, "They're from World War I. They've had such a life," and I was just like, "Oh God." So then I went to my brother's communion with these petrol cans, owing him like 50 quid for like. It's very silly, but yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And will I tell you the story behind the song? Or
please, yeah.
So this is a song that's inspired by an origin myth from the Inuit people, and it's also really interesting because this exact same story repeats itself throughout so many different cultures and countries, and like there's a French story, there's loads of stories, and so this particular myth begins with the beginning, and the beginning was like this sort of rich inky blackness in which all forms could morph between themselves. So if you were a hill, you could become a deer, or you could become like a tree or a crow. And the story goes, and it's sort of like, if you understand just when darkness exists, it's like when you're falling asleep, sort of the edges of things start bleeding away, and it's this kind of like this nice kind of like totality or something. Like darkness is kind of like a collective thing, I think. And anyway, so the form of the crow steals away from the darkness and discovers the light and brings the light back in its beak, and then sort of when the light hits everything, it sort of becomes defined in its form. And so it's sort of like the light is the marker of the boundary or the edges of things, I suppose. And so, I really like that story. And then it's also called the Kwa Kwa Kwa, which means the light. And it sounds a lot like wah, ah, ah. So, that's the... And then there's so many other stories, but... the crow also being sort of like the character who moves spirits between worlds and stuff. Even in Irish mythology, it's a sort of companion to death in a way. But so this is the song. And I hope by being inspired by that I'm honouring that myth as well and those people. So.
I dreamed an evil dream. Oh, I dreamed He brought the quack, 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 he brought the light. He brought the quack, 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 he brought the light. He brought the light. He brought the light. He brought the light. Ooh, 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 ooh. I dreamed a dream. He tore the hands up of me. Oh, I dreamed a dream. He tore the heart out of me. Oh, he hung me high. He hung me high and higher. Oh, he hung me high upon a silver wire. Ooh, oh, and then a crow came calling, and then a crow came calling. He brought the quack, 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 he brought the light. He brought the quack, 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 he brought the light. He brought the light. He brought the light. He brought the light. Ooh,
That's wonderful, Branwen. Do you want to make your way back over here? While you do, I just your communion story is very consoling for me. My day started with I bought these pair of gloves in is a charity shop near where I live for €3 the other day, and I must say I felt very good about this purchase. And today I was cycling over here, and I discovered one of my gloves had fallen out of my pocket, so I turned around and. When I turned around and went back to retrace my steps on the retrace my wheels, I got a puncture. And but anyway, look, sometimes you set out with money to buy your brother a communion present, and you come home with a World War II jerry can, one glove.
Yeah.
One glove. So, Branwen, just something you said there about the way the origin myth about that it being different versions in different languages and cultures. Myths like songs, or songs like myths rather, these are, the way that different versions of songs in different cultures can have religious aspects or the way that songs move around, but they're not fixed things really, are they? They're just, the way that, it's something that keeps changing through time, and music kind of reflects all those changes, right? Would you be, do you think?
I'm sorry, I don't really understand what you're saying.
I suppose when it comes to, we'll say that the versions of there being, you said the origin myth that there was different ones in different languages.
Yeah.
But my point being that that likewise when it comes to songs, they can mean sort of the way an ancient song from Scotland can end up in America and be different verses and so on and so forth. And we take it and we take this meaning from it and we, But I suppose my point being a very general question is that it's one of the few things that you can kind of map through time, the way that they kind of travel around,
Yeah, and it's this is a really interesting topic, because I feel like the point at which we pressed record was the point at which the sort of evolution of song and sort of the kind of purpose of song, maybe or how it sits into having a function in community, kind of just became changed in some way. And for me, the thing, so say with loving traditional music and loving kind of the night before I got stretched, or all the singing nights and stuff, is because I feel for a really all of those songs that have been around for so long, I feel they're actual entities that sort of hop into people and kind of live in a voice for a little while until then it kind of hits another person, and then so they've sort of lived a lot longer than we have, so they're sort of these and they've kind of survived because of living through people's voices and making people kind of come alive with them. And in a way for me that's what I feel music is, and kind of
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, it just lives in people and comes alive in people, or people come alive with the music. And yeah, that's why I really like prefer seeing people play music. And yeah,
because there's something, I mean, I'm really glad I took 2 goes at asking the question because it's a great answer. But there is something in the exchange of a song being sung, and, you know, and those nights that we've been very lucky in Dublin. You know, with the Goleen is another an ancient and unbreakable example of what we're talking about, of the way things move about and how it works. You know, it's just wonderful. How sort of when it comes to the kind of there's nothing really that can recreate the sound of somebody singing within your earshot, right? That's. Would you say that's kind of? I guess that's the most powerful of all, really.
Yeah, like. Totally, because to me music is an experience, and I feel like so like when I listen to recorded music, sometimes it makes me just really overwhelmed because I don't have the context or the presence or the people that it's living in, I suppose. It's sort of like disembodied spirit stuff. So I feel like it's much nicer to see people actively making music come alive, and I think let's go back to some of the recorded stuff. So I absolutely love the name of this band, Mama's Broke. Oh yeah.
Tell us more, Branwen.
These are friends of mine from Canada, and they are just, and me and Julie did a tour with them actually with Trinidad Wolf in like 2015. It's actually the book fair where I found that book that is in front of us. And yeah, they're just so amazingly talented and just amazing. And I just would love to share their music. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing it. And let's get to the book in just a little while. Okay, so this is Count the Wicked by Mama's Broke.
Sick and wicked
beautiful. Sorry, Branwen, did you get to tour with Mama's Broke?
Yeah, we did a little tour in 2015. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me where the so Lady Jane Wilde, right? So when I asked you to do the show and you graciously accepted, I was saying about, is there somebody that we could talk about, and so Lady Jane Wilde and the accentures, charms, and usages of Ireland. I never knew anything about this amazing woman. So it came into your world in 2015. Or how did it come in? Actually, you just
we did a show in Kilkenny, and there was a book fair that was on, and then I saw this book, and I was like, "There's something calling me with this book. I have to buy it." So I did, and then it turned out to be one of the best things I ever did.
Was it something that? Did it kind of inform or backdate some sort of confirmation on some of the things that you were interested in anyway, or is it?
Well, it's just so interesting. It's I mean, things that it definitely kind of like things I was already curious about exist in those books in that book in a way that that's very exciting and weirder than I thought. So
So you had high expectations that were raised. So, but it says about supernatural influences in the art of healing. So I mean, I take it that stretches across the spectrum of the supernatural.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So it's sort of. Well, just an introduction to the book is that, so there's a movement around the 1890s of cultural nationalism where lots of sort of wealthy Protestant people were sort of like very nationalistic.
Yeah.
Oh God, I can't remember.
I guess nationalistic.
And they were trying to give the Irish people back what was taken from them. So by going around to the old people in the West and collecting sort of like the ancient sort of healing things that they would do, the rituals and the herbal things and and all the stories and sort of the origins of things like Bealtaine and all this kind of stuff. Like there's so much, and the wake games and superstitions and all this kind of stuff. So it's really, really interesting.
And she also published under the name Speranza in The Nation, her poetry. So she was like operating on all fronts.
Yeah, I think she got some kind of journal shut down because she was calling for an armed revolution. Yeah.
Okay.
And then it went to court, and then she stood up in court and proclaimed that she was Speranza, but nobody believed her. And so she's really quite a character.
And the copy you have there, Branwen, actually was published in 1890.
Yeah.
1890. And so I mean, so this book is still relevant in 2020 and will go on being relevant, right?
Yeah, and in a way, it's funny that it does give me back parts of my relationship to Ireland that I didn't have access to. Do you know what I mean? Because it's from a different time and And what's really fascinating is that some of the rituals are so pagan, and then they're just if you have a toothache, you have to find a blacksmith and walk around the anvil 7 times at dawn for 3 days straight, and recite the Paternoster. Just fling in some kind of Catholic stuff in there, but it's totally, and Ireland is kind of the place where Catholicism was assimilated more than kind of imposed. So there's still so much pagan stuff to be found if you dive into Catholicism as well. So,
do you think that, I mean, it's interesting that she was coming from such a different place, but it must have been her intention of giving the Irish people back all this information. Clearly, it's goes on working that she was true to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll move on to the next piece of music. So tell us about Mountain Man, Branwen.
It's actually given to me by a flute maker. He made me a burned a CD copy of this CD for me. I think 2013. Martin Doyle was his name. He gave me this and some tomatoes from his greenhouse. He's like, you and your sister should really listen to these guys. And they've just, I don't know, it's kind of like when so many people happen to get into something at the same time. I remember, actually, Mom is Broke. The first time I went to New Orleans in 2015, I remember seeing them standing on a street corner, and we were all just singing songs on the corner outside a bar, and we sang this particular song together. We were just oh my God, we all know it, and just it kind of inspired us to all start singing together a lot more. So it's really, there's some magic in it.
I think the universe was involved somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is River. So this time the unfrozen variety of water, it's River from Made the Harbour by Mountain Man. What a beautiful song. Thanks for bringing that, Branwen. So we're going to hear another one from yourself now. What's this one?
This is called Fever in Bedlam. And it has lots of meanings. One is kind of particularly about learning how to be one person and not a twin, I think. Yeah, so. Cool.
Simple, he said that I was a child, simply by the manner of my ways. Four quarters and the wind's not wild, if I had half a horse I'd ride away. Our lives grow heavy with the heat, and shadows fall in midnight green. I lie where bleeding poppies dream, and oh, to be alone again, and oh, to be alone again. A cradle, it is no place to lay the dead. Pray for them, though godless you may be. And Bedlam is still a place to lay your head, beside the dogged face of the Furies. I lie in heavy lidded sleep, where leaves grow heavy with the heat, and shadows fall in midnight green. I lie where bleeding poppies dream, and oh, to be alone again, and oh, to be alone again.
Wonderful. Thanks, Branwen. So we're going to, we've now reached the part of the conversation which I was most looking forward to, which is talking to you about polyphonic singing. So I love the explanation of that song being how to be one person. That's a very useful theme for a song. So we're going to hear Trenda Filka in a little while. So it's described as modern exploration of European polyphonic traditions, but it's actually New Orleans, right? Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the group is, did you say 11 or 12 people? Or?
11 or 12 people, yeah.
So like, look, it's a source of great fascination for me. I suppose I was trying to think this morning of things that I love about polyphonic singing. I mean, in the same way that sometimes when you see jazz being played, it feels kind of architectural, and that you can kind of find your space in that or a place in that. It also feels like, you know, that there's some kind of like, I don't know, a grid in there that you can fit into, and it feels like you can, I don't know, that it's some kind of dream of coexistence or something, or ideal, or I don't know. Is that anyway? Look, there my initial thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's
So what,
amazing.
like, I mean, so everybody's in the tradition. All those parts are. How does it work actually in technical terms? Is nobody is dominating or taken, or how does it work?
So it's kind of like an equality, I suppose, of the voices, where there's no kind of primary voice. It's like just a mix of there's sort of equilibrium between all of the voices, and then I think it's from between 3 to 6 parts is what they're doing in this. And
Yeah. Look, why don't we listen to it and talk a little bit about the form itself after we hear it? Okay, so this is.
Will I tell you what it is first, so you know?
Please do.
It's really,
because this is a special piece, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I just want to get this right. Sorry, look at my notebook. So this is a Latvian pulling song, and a pulling song is what people used to sing when the spring was late, and they would sing to try and pull the seeds above the ground. And it's funny because when I saw this live, I actually felt like that was happening to my body. I was like, oh my God, like it's really,
it's working. Yeah.
it's really fascinating. So actually, my notes are anyway. Just play the song if you want.
Take your time. Yeah.
Here we go. I don't know if I can pronounce this right, but Rosha Ziesma, I think is what it's called. Yeah, so that's what the pulling songs are called.
So it's Wild Rose. Okay, Wild Rose, beautiful.
Oh, sorry, that's what Trendafilka means, but the name of this song is,
Trendafilka means Wild Rose in Bulgarian?
In Bulgaria, and that's the name of the group, yeah. And then Rosha Ziesma is what the song is called.
Okay, wonderful, beautiful. Branwen, is it? So I always associate the heartland of the form being Bulgaria, but it extends across Europe, does it? Or I mean,
of this style of singing,
yeah, polyphonic singing, yeah.
Yeah, I think it happens in so many places.
Yeah. I guess maybe the
like Georgia and kind of like as far as Ukraine and Latvia and loads of places.
Sure, yeah. In terms of, I know that there's a project, because I was lucky enough to see you singing this just a few months ago with Zoe and Anamika. So you're working on a project. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on there with that?
Yeah, so actually this is very well, it's a nice segue to this.
Look, I did my research.
So some of the people who are involved in Trendafilka are also in a band called Blato Zlato, which means swamp gold in Bulgarian, and they kind of do Bulgarian music and they tour there every year. And in 2018, myself and Zoe and Anamika went to Eastern Europe we went to like a few countries to kind of like go and see if we could learn and collect some songs and kind of meet different people, and just because we really wanted to. And we ended up meeting one of the people from Blato Zlato who gave us the name of a teacher who taught us a song that we all sing in Bulgarian. And then we were like, wow, we really like singing together. And it was a gorgeous experience. And then I've been kind of writing songs for, actually pretty much inspired by Mountain Man as well, and from all the sessions and everything, songs that people can sing together, and they kind of have really slowly kind of like built out of a little kernel. And some of them like, I'd be just sharing with people, and then other strangers would just sing them back to me, and I'm like, I wrote that song, that's mad. And like kind of just because they kind of have traveled a little bit through people, which is lovely, so it's kind of like the folk thing. And then I was like, well, sure, if that's happening, I'd love to just honour them in the best way I possibly can. So during lockdown, I finished writing like 10, well, I wrote like 16, but 10 I really want to focus on with the guys. And I asked Anamika and Zoe if they wanted to be part of it, and they said yes. And so, so then we met you in the middle of a residency in Kilruddery House, which was lovely. They gave us their library and their lovely statue gallery to sing in, which is really nice.
Well, I can testify to what's coming with this project, because I've heard 2 of those songs and it's so stunning. So can I just, it's so really written for 3 parts, right? Or is that kind of the specific brief?
Well, also, I suppose it's just because that's the kind of there's 3 of us that I want to work with as well. Yeah. But also, I think... Is
it like the name Twin-Head Wolf, or the number just was there and you decided to honor it?
For me, totally.
There's 3 of us, so...
and also with the intention that people can learn these songs as well, because that's kind of what I want them to exist as, not just... those special people over there who can sing these songs. It's kind of, I would like them to be... We've kind of created really complicated songs, but sure, maybe we'll kind of... My intention is to maybe make a little book so people can sing them themselves.
Okay. Well, can I just say, just like as a guinea pig, I couldn't get those songs out of my head for several days afterwards.
With all the earworms I put in them.
Extra earworms. We're going to move on and take one more choice, and it's in the general area. We're going to Poland next. So this group are called Sutari. Again, there's a common theme, I think, in all of the choices, Branwen, in that there's, the thing I was saying at the start about the world of sound, or sorry, rather, sound worlds, that, it's these people, again, are coming from a place where it's not just confined to actual instruments. They're using, kitchen implements, etc., and in a very kind of meaningful way, yeah? So is that fair to say?
Yeah, and that as well, they're also theatre performers as well. I think they met through the theatre, but I think their intention with using kitchen implements is sort of like remembering the songs that their grandmothers would sing in the kitchen, and maybe songs that women would be singing while doing their work in the day, do you know what I mean? And that's kind of and just watching them is unbelievable. If you ever get a chance, go and see them. They're just
so you can probably see stuff. I had a quick look this morning on YouTube of them performing, right, as well.
They're just witty, and so talented, and just so they also have given themselves permission within their group to just do whatever they want to do, and they're playing bowls of water and whatever, graters, and it's really just I remember seeing them and I was just like, this is what music is. This is just what it is. It was so amazing.
So comprised of the elements of real life, this is the sound of Sutari. Great.
Z poniedziałku na święto jasiowe konie zajęto jasieńkowe konie i nie wiedział, którą dróżką ponie. Oj, zajęto jasieńkowe konie i nie wiedział, którą dróżką ponie. Oj, o dróżkę nie pytam, do Torunia do Torunia, do Nowego Miasta. Tam dziewczyna karę konie pasła. Pasła ci je nad wodą, cieszyła się urodą. Cóż to ci za uroda była, w szczerym polu koniki zgubiła.
Yeah, another fantastic introduction. Can we just say what that album is from, Branwen, so we can direct people?
This is, I just got another tutorial. Ziponi Zialku, which is a song about Johnny who's looking after his horses and lost them when he saw a pretty woman. And then it's from the album Osti, and I really highly recommend looking at it.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's also on Bandcamp. I when it comes to the kind of poetic ordinariness of the way that you described it lovely about it coming from it being what music about, which is it comes from life and it comes from what's all around you and so on and so forth. Yeah. I suppose, I'm asking you to confirm for me that that's something that you believe in yourself,
absolutely.
in terms of how you approach your own practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like, I think music just makes me come alive in a way that I don't otherwise. And I feel like it's because it's a place where I can draw all of the elements of my own life into one place and then being on stage is like another thing, because it's like, I can create the space to invite other people into the world that I because I think, if you picking up on specific things all the time, you can just kind of weave them into a nice little tapestry of a song or whatever that is. Do you know what I mean? And sort of,
and on the stage, that stage craft, right, which is something that you've also got in your armor. Is that the right word? So it's you've got like a World War II jerry can.
Armadillo.
No, I'm just saying that. What I mean is that. The presentation of your work, right? Because clearly it's a very, if you don't mind me saying, very uniquely presented. Is that something that kind of, you feel is evolving, and that is something, for instance, you've spent a year without performing, right? As in like everybody else. How does it feel kind of thinking about where to go next, or is there, kind of things to be done where I think I read a post where you were describing what was going to happen this year, and, the way, obviously, that all changed.
Yeah.
But going forward, there's things to be done. You have...
Yeah. I also do performance art, so that's another sort of wing to... kind of questioning what the stage means and how you can, there's so much more potential. I think that's really beautiful to play with, and I really miss it. It's fun because I was doing a tour earlier this year, and I didn't have a petrol can.
With just the art or with the music?
With just music, but and I didn't have my petrol can with me because I was out away abroad, and I had to before every gig I had to find a wheelbarrow or whatever I could find to kind of play, and there's just kind of the liveliness of that is really enjoyable. But I suppose the things that are coming now is myself and Zoe and Annemieke are going to make this record hopefully in the beginning of the year. We did lovely demos and by lovely Brian, who from Vagabonds, he's great. He was recording stuff, and then I'd be really curious to be more playful with sort of theatrical stuff. So that's sort of something up my sleeve. And I've also been writing lots of songs that are because I have like lots of different characters who write songs out of me,
Okay.
and there's sort of like a very sort of like dreamy, sort of guitar-y kind of character who wants to write quite soft songs, but I'd like to fuck them up a bit. So we'll see what happens there. That's my
Just so
another
he doesn't get too complacent
sideline.
there.
So yeah, so I was actually thinking about recording them. I was just down in Clare, but
Yeah.
my friend who normally I do my recording with changed his phone number, and I was like, "Are you blanking me?" I met him in Super Value, and I was just like, "He's like, I changed my number. I'm sorry."
Well, at least there's no hiding place.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's like
Well, it sounds like, you know, there's so much to be done, Branwen, and it's just fascinating to get an insight into your own approach, into your own sound world. Just when it comes to the discipline, we'll say, of writing songs, so the did you say 15 that you'd written that's gone, or is it how many or 10, sorry, when it comes to the trio album, right?
yeah, I think we're gonna aim for 10. Yeah.
Yeah, so like we'll say,
And then maybe extra songs that we like otherwise. So
Yeah.
like say the song we learned in East Streeter, but then
okay.
another folk song that we're
Do
picking
you
up.
write slowly, or does it take, or does it vary?
So I bring flowers to the muses, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, sure.
They
I think muses was the last thing I wanted to talk about. These are important things, right?
throwing muses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I have a really sort of ethereal relationship with songwriting, where I feel like people would be like, "What the fuck is she talking about?" So I'm kind of really wary about talking about this in some ways, because
Yeah.
I'm also wary maybe about breaking the magic as well. But I feel like
Sure, it's a thin line, isn't it?
Yeah, but I
yeah.
feel like that if you listen hard enough, there's things waiting for you, and that's also another reason I don't really listen to music very often. That's why I like to see it alive in people, but
Yeah,
because I like to be open to what's coming to me. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
So, and sometimes, like, I think when I was with Twin-Headed Wolf, it was insane. Like, a song would fall out of my mouth. Like, I would just sit down. I'd like have to run home sometimes and go
yeah.
write a song, and it would fall out of my mouth. And as I was singing it, I would hear Judy's harmony in my left ear.
Wow.
I actually used to live in another squat called the Dollhouse, and it was haunted by Elizabeth, who's the ghost there. We used to like make her tea all the time, but I think she kind of threw a few songs at me as well, but she'd be kind of waiting in the most haunted room.
Wow.
Anyway, and then there's other things like there's sort of like yeah, just picking up on things, or like feeling a feeling so deeply that it just emerges into music. My guitar as well, wherever it is.
Yeah.
Wrote songs for me as well.
Wow.
Me and him, Hymn, that's his name.
Yeah.
Wrote songs together. But yeah, I think there's sort of like, and then more recently, I suppose, because I want to write more complicated songs that don't happen in a huge hurry, I'm kind of really slowing things down and waiting patiently for like maybe the conversation that has to finish the song. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So sometimes there's like, you're like, oh, I've written a song, but there's like a verse that's not ready, and it means I just have to be really open-minded to whatever's trying to get in at me. So yeah, it's very crazy sounding, but I'm crazy. I don't care. It's fine. It's just,
I think it makes perfect sense.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I like the idea of just you having to wait or bide your time, or there being a waiting element for it to be the right moment for something to be finished, or for there to be another verse or the last verse, or
Yeah, I think Dali, I don't know who said it, but there's like, the muses are there, but they have to find you working as well. So you kind of always have to be ready, be like,
Right.
okay, I can run home now and go, but whatever. But
yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Branwen, will you and him be able to play us out then?
Him is finished for the moment. He's gonna sing.
Oh, it's over for
He's
him.
asleep. It's over for him.
Well, it is Nollaig Naman, so it's over for him and all the other men.
Yeah.
No, so look, what about so the last tune we're going to hear is the fourth one from your album, and it's the cricket, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Will I tell you something about it?
please do.
This is a lovely phenomenon. So if you listen to crickets, you hear like this strange chirping sound. But if you record a cricket singing and then stretch the recording out so that the cricket's heartbeat, which is very quick because it's very small, would match the human heartbeat, then what you get when you match it to our heartbeat is this beautiful choir of
know,
crickets singing.
yeah.
It's incredible.
I've been to YouTube parties.
I know, but it's so beautiful. And it's
maybe the most beautiful thing. Yeah.
It's incredible. So then this is, just inspired by that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, once again, Branwen, it's been a pleasure having you on Make Me an Island.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you again. And thanks to Ian and to Rico and everybody here on the Sugar Club, at the Sugar Club. It's been a pleasure doing business here.
The cricket sings for you. You are the name of his hymn. Waits to be washed in dew. He knows the song of your skin. He knows the song of your skin. Pale as milky daylight, soft as sleep, and trembling and trembling too. The cricket sings for you. You are the name of his hymn. The cricket sings for you. You are the name of his hymn. Pale cricket washed in daylight. You are soft as sleep. Pale cricket washed in daylight. You are soft as sleep. Pale cricket washed in daylight. You are soft as sleep.
And if you were to try to understand what we sound like to crickets, could be something like this. Thank you.
Branwen, thank you so much. I want all the shows to end like this. Thanks, everyone.